Velkson stood before the great crystal wall of the archive. Her 6 legs trembled as ancient symbols glowed in the darkness. She was young for an astrographer, barely 200 cycles old. The collective had sent her here to study old star maps. What she found instead would change everything. The symbols were warnings. 50 star systems marked in red. Each one carried the same message in 12 different dead languages. She translated slowly, her translator struggling with words that had no meaning in modern speech. Do not enter. Do not approach. Do not forget. Velkson touched the crystal. Images flooded her mind. Stars burning. Worlds torn apart. Space itself screaming. She pulled her hand back, her breathing fast. What had happened in those 50 systems? She gathered her data and returned to the collective. The council gathered in the Great Dome. Thousands of species represented. The oldest were the Thalvan, beings who had lived for millions of years. Even they looked worried when Velkson showed them what she found. Ambassador Kurath rose to speak. He was ancient even among the Thalvan. His voice echoed through the dome like distant thunder. We call it the Forbidden Zone, Kurath said. Every species knows of it. Every species fears it. But none remember why. What is inside? Velkson asked. The Terrans, Kurath answered. The word made the entire council fall silent. Or what remains of them. Velkson had never heard of Terrans. No one in the collective had. They were not in any database. Not in any history. It was as if they had been erased from existence. They lived 2,000 years ago, Kurath continued. They were called humans. They built an empire that stretched across hundreds of worlds. They achieved things we still cannot understand. Then what happened to them? Asked Captain Saris, a military commander from the outer systems. Kurath's eyes dimmed. They destroyed themselves. But not before they did something far worse. The chamber filled with whispers. Every species had legends about the burning. Stories told to children to scare them. Tales of stars that bled. Of worlds that turned inside out. Of ships that vanished into nothing. I propose an expedition, Velkson said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. We need to know what happened. We need to understand. No, said several council members at once. Every ship that has entered that zone has disappeared, said one. Every probe we send goes silent, said another. The warnings exist for a reason, said a third. But Velkson would not give up. We have better technology now. Better shields. Better sensors. We can learn from their mistakes if we understand what those mistakes were. The debate lasted for days. Finally, the council agreed. But only under strict conditions. The fleet would be small. It would go slow. And it would turn back at the first sign of danger. Captain Saris would lead the military escort. Dr. Minax, a famous xenoarchaeologist, would study any ruins they found. Engineering officer Preeth would keep the ships running. And Velkson would navigate. Before they left, Kurath took Velkson aside. There are stories, he said quietly. Fragments passed down through the ages. The humans made their stars bleed. Their children played with atoms like toys. They turned worlds inside out for fun. They built machines that could think, ships that could cross the galaxy in heartbeats. Then why did they fall? Velkson asked. Because they reached too far, Kurath said. They found something. Or created something. And it destroyed them. What thing? Kurath shook his head. That is what you must discover. But be careful, young one. The humans were not evil. They were not cruel. They were simply too powerful for their own good. And if their technology still exists in that zone, it may still be active. It may still be dangerous. The fleet launched 3 weeks later. 5 ships, 50 crew members, all volunteers, all knowing they might not return. As they approached the border of the Forbidden Zone, sensors began picking up strange readings. Space itself seemed different here. Thicker, heavier. The stars looked wrong, their light bent at impossible angles. Crossing the threshold in 10 seconds, Velkson announced. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. The fleet passed through an invisible wall. Alarms screamed. Then fell silent. Then screamed again. What is that? Someone whispered. Ahead of them, floating in the void, was a structure. It was massive. Bigger than any moon. It surrounded a red dwarf star like a shell. Solar panels stretched for millions of kilometers. They were old, ancient, but they still glowed with power. A Dyson swarm, Dr. Minax breathed. The humans built a Dyson swarm. That is impossible, Preeth said. The energy required, the materials, the time. No species has ever achieved this. The humans did, Velkson said quietly. As they approached, defense systems activated. Weapons older than most civilizations tracked their movement. Energy built up in ancient cannons. The crew held their breath. Then the weapons powered down, as if the ancient machines had scanned them and found them wanting, or perhaps found them not human, and therefore not a threat. "They are letting us pass," Captain Sarah said. "But why?" No one had an answer. The fleet moved deeper into the zone. More structures appeared. Space stations that could hold millions, shipyards that stretched across entire solar systems. All abandoned, all silent, all still partially working after 2,000 years. What were they? Someone asked. Velkson checked her data. "Gods," she whispered. They were gods. The fleet spent 3 days studying the Dyson swarm. Dr. Minex could not stop talking. His excitement filled every communication channel. "The engineering is perfect," he said. "Every panel is positioned exactly right. The humans captured almost all the star's energy. They had unlimited power, unlimited resources. They could do anything. But they still died," Preeth said. The engineer was less excited. He kept running diagnostics on their ships. He did not trust the ancient defenses that had let them pass. Something killed them despite all their power. Velkson agreed with Preeth. The more they discovered, the more worried she became. The humans had achieved post-scarcity. They had conquered death itself according to some data fragments. Their technology was so advanced it seemed like magic. "Moving deeper," Captain Saris announced. The fleet left the Dyson swarm behind. They traveled for another week through empty space. Every system they passed showed signs of human presence. Orbital habitats, terraformed moons, structures that defied understanding. Then they found the memorial station. It orbited a shattered world. The planet below had been broken into pieces. Billions of fragments drifted in a loose cloud. Each piece was covered in the ruins of cities. The station itself was pristine, maintained by automated systems for 2,000 years. "Scanning for life signs," Saris said. "Nothing, no life. No energy signatures except for the station's power core." "We should dock," Velkson said. "There might be records inside." The docking was smooth. Too smooth. The station's systems activated as they approached. Lights came on. Air began cycling through the halls. Gravity activated. It was as if the station had been waiting for visitors. The team entered slowly. Weapons ready, but there was nothing to fight. Just empty halls and silent rooms. Everything was clean, perfect, preserved. "This way," Dr. Minox said. He had found the archive. It was a massive room filled with data crystals. Millions of them. Maybe billions. Each one containing information about the humans. Velkson connected her scanner to the archive. Data began flowing. Images, videos, text, sound, all of it corrupted. Fragments of a civilization that no longer existed. But some files were intact. One caught her attention. It was labeled simply "Final Message." She played it. A hologram appeared. It showed a human. He looked tired. His face was lined with worry. Behind him, stars burned in colors that should not exist. "If you are seeing this," the human said, "then you have entered the forbidden zone. Turn back. Leave now. What we became, what we created, you cannot face it. You are not ready. You may never be ready." The hologram flickered. "We thought we were so advanced. We cured disease. We ended aging. We built worlds. We tamed stars. We thought we were ready for the next step. We were wrong." The message ended. Velkson played it again and again. Each time she noticed more. The fear in the human's eyes. The strange light behind him. The way space itself seemed to bend near the edges of the image. "We need to continue," she said. "No," Praith said. The message was clear. "Turn back. We came here to learn," Velkson argued. "We need to know what happened. What killed them." The team argued for hours. Finally, they voted. It was close. But the majority wanted to continue. They would go deeper. They would find answers. Preeth was not happy. "This is a mistake," he said. "But I will not abandon the mission." We stay together. They left the memorial station behind. The shattered world fell away. Ahead of them lay more mysteries, more ruins, more warnings. The next system they entered was different. The star was wrong. It pulsed with energy that should not exist. The planets orbited in patterns that violated physics, and floating near the fourth planet was something impossible. "Is that a ship?" Cirrus asked. It was. But it was enormous. Bigger than their entire fleet combined. Bigger than some moons. It hung motionless in space, its hull scarred by weapons that had stopped working millennia ago. "Scanning," Velkson said. "The ship is intact. Power core is still active. Minimal damage to internal systems. It looks like it was abandoned rather than destroyed." Why would they abandon something like this? Dr. Minox wondered. They docked with the massive vessel. The airlocks opened easily. Too easily. As if they were expected. Inside they found wonders. The ship had gravity without spinning. Light without lamps. It could travel faster than light without using the gate network. The humans had broken every rule of physics. "This single ship," Preeth said quietly, "could destroy our entire civilization. The weapons alone could crack planets. The shields could stop anything we have." "And they left it here," Sarah said. "Why?" Dr. Minox found the answer in the ship's log. "They were fighting," he said. The humans were fighting each other. It was a civil war. The logs told a terrible story. Humanity had split into factions. One group wanted to evolve beyond physical form, to become beings of pure energy and thought, to transcend into higher dimensions. The other group wanted to remain human, to stay in their bodies, to keep their limitations. They called themselves the preservationists. The first group called themselves the ascensionists. They discovered something, Dr. Minox read, something called the Dark Blueprint, a way to manipulate the quantum substrate of reality itself. The ascensionists wanted to use it, to become gods. The preservationists tried to stop them, Velkson said, reading another log. They said humanity was not ready. That transcendence without wisdom would lead to horror. Who won? Cirrus asked. "Neither," Velkson whispered. "Neither side won. Both sides lost everything." The final log entry was brief. It was written by the ship's captain, a preservationist named Elena Martinez. Her words were simple. "They have begun the ascension. God help us all." God help them. God help the universe. The team stood in silence. Finally, Preeth spoke. "We need to find where this ascension happened," he said. "We need to see what remains." Velkson nodded. Despite all the warnings, despite all the fear, they had to know, they had to understand. The fate of the humans might be the fate of all species. If humanity with all their power could fall, then no one was safe. "Set course for the deepest part of the zone," Captain Cirrus ordered. "That is where we will find our answers." 3 weeks into the Forbidden Zone, they found Earth. The human homeworld hung in space like a blue jewel. But something was wrong. The entire planet was covered by a shield, energy barriers that had lasted 2,000 years. Nothing could get through. Not sensors, not communications, not even light in certain spectrums. "It is a museum," Dr. Minox said with wonder. They turned their own world into a museum. "Preserved forever, but why?" Velkson asked. "Why seal away their homeworld?" "Guilt," Preeth said softly. "Or maybe hope. Maybe they wanted something to survive, something to remember them by. They spent days searching for a way through the shield. Every attempt failed. Then Velkson found something, an ancient docking station orbiting the moon. It was small, easy to miss, but it still had power. "This is a gateway," she said, "a controlled entry point. If we can activate it, we might be able to reach the surface." It took 3 days of work. Preeth and his engineers studied the ancient systems. They were careful. One mistake could activate defenses or collapse the shield entirely. Finally, they succeeded. The gateway opened. A tunnel through the shield formed. It was narrow. Only one ship could pass through at a time. "I am going," Velkson said. "We all are," Captain Cirrus said. "This is why we came." They descended through the tunnel. The shield crackled around them. Then they broke through into atmosphere. Earth was beautiful. Forests covered the land. Oceans sparkled in the sunlight. Cities dotted the landscape, their buildings tall and strange. Everything was frozen in time. Nothing moved. No people, no animals. Just perfect stillness. They landed in a city called Geneva. The buildings were intact. Streets were clean. It looked like everyone had simply vanished one day. "This is eerie," Sarah said as they walked through empty streets. Their footsteps echoed. "Where are the bodies? The decay? There should be something." "They cleaned it all away," Dr. Minox said, "before they sealed the planet. They wanted it perfect." At the center of Geneva stood a monument. It was a massive structure of stone and metal. Carved into it were words in dozens of languages. Velkson translated the main inscription. Here stood humanity. We reached for the stars and grasped them. We conquered death and disease. We built paradise. Then we made the choice. May whatever comes after us learn from our mistakes. May they know when to stop. What was the choice? Velkson wondered. They explored more of the city. They found archives, libraries, museums, all perfectly preserved. The humans had left everything behind. All their knowledge, all their art, all their history. In one building, they found records of human achievement. Faster than light travel without gates, matter replication, consciousness transfer, dimensional manipulation. The list went on and on. They were gods, Praith said. True gods. They could do anything. Except survive, Velkson said quietly. They traveled to Mars next. The colony there was huge. Millions had lived here once. The terraforming was complete. Mars had become a second Earth. Blue skies, liquid water, breathable air, but it was empty, just like Earth, just like everything else in the zone. On the moon, they found the Lunar Archive. It was enormous, a library containing everything humanity had ever created. Books, music, movies, art, science, philosophy, all stored in crystalline matrices that would last millions of years. They wanted to be remembered, Dr. Minock said. Tears ran down his face. They knew they were dying, so they made sure something would survive. In the deepest level of the archive, they found classified files. Most were locked, but one was open. It was labeled Operation Final Shore. Velkson opened it with trembling hands. What she read changed everything. The humans had not died. They had transformed. The ascensionists had succeeded in their goal. They had transcended physical form. They had become beings of pure energy and consciousness. They had moved into higher dimensions, but something went wrong. The transformation was imperfect, incomplete. The ascended humans became trapped between dimensions, neither fully energy nor fully matter, unable to return, unable to move forward, unable to die. The preservationists tried to help them. They built machines to pull them back, but every attempt failed. Worse, the ascended ones were in agony. Their consciousness was being torn apart by the dimensional barriers. In their pain, they lashed out. They could not control their power. Reality itself began to break. Stars exploded. Planets were torn apart. Space-time started to collapse. The preservationists made a terrible choice. They built a quantum cage, a prison made of twisted space-time and collapsed dimensions. They trapped the ascended ones inside. Then they detonated weapons that destroyed 50 star systems. The explosion killed billions of preservationists. It erased entire colonies. It turned thriving worlds into wastelands. But it worked. The ascended ones were contained. They are still alive, Velkson whispered. The ascended humans. They are still trapped here, still suffering. For 2,000 years, Praith said. 2,000 years of agony. Where? Captain Cirrus demanded. Where are they trapped? Velkson checked the file. Her blood ran cold. The crucible system. At the very center of the forbidden zone. Then that is where we must go, Dr. Minock said. No, Praith said. Absolutely not. We have seen enough. We know what happened. We should leave now before something goes wrong. But Velkson shook her head. We need to see it. We need to witness what humanity became. Only then can we truly understand the danger. Only then can we warn others, they argued for hours. But eventually they all agreed. They had come too far to turn back now. They had to see the truth. No matter how terrible it might be, they left Earth behind. The blue jewel grew smaller in their view screens. Ahead lay the darkest part of the forbidden zone, the place where reality itself had died, the place where the humans had made their last stand. The crucible system awaited them. The journey to the crucible system took 2 weeks. With each passing day, space became stranger. Stars flickered in and out of existence. Planets orbited in impossible ways. The laws of physics bent and broke. Reality is damaged here, Praith said. His instruments showed readings that made no sense. Space-time itself is fractured. Can we survive it? Captain Cirrus asked. I do not know, Praith admitted. My shields are holding, but I have never seen anything like this. They pushed forward. The fleet moved slowly, carefully. One wrong move could tear a ship apart. Then they entered the crucible system proper. What they saw defied description. The system had 3 stars, but they were wrong. One burned black. One burned white. One phased between colors that should not exist. They orbited each other in a pattern that hurt to look at. Floating among the stars were the remnants of the war. Thousands of ships, millions of weapons platforms, all frozen in time. Some ships were half-phased, existing in multiple dimensions at once. Others had aged to dust in some places while remaining new in others. What happened here? Dr. Minax whispered. Belkson studied the wreckage. This is where they fought. This is where the preservationists tried to stop the ascension. They found weapons that had ended entire fleets, devices that aged matter to dust in seconds, bombs that collapsed spacetime, shields that phased objects out of normal reality. They were fighting with the tools of gods, Praith said. No wonder the zone is so damaged. At the center of the system, they found the threshold gate. It was massive, beyond comprehension. A ring larger than most planets. It hung in space, still glowing with power after 2,000 years. This is what they used, Belkson said. This is the device that let them ascend. The gate was beautiful and terrible. Energy cascaded across its surface. But the energy was wrong. It flickered between dimensions. Sometimes it was light. Sometimes it was matter. Sometimes it was nothing at all. I am detecting something, Praith said suddenly. His voice was tight with fear. Something is moving. Something big, Belkson checked her sensors. He was right. There was something in the higher dimensions. Something vast. Something aware. The ascended humans, Dr. Minax breathed. They can sense us, reality rippled. For a brief moment, Belkson saw them. Beings made of light and thought. They were huge, incomprehensible, beautiful and horrible at the same time. And they were in agony. She could feel their pain. It radiated through dimensions. 2,000 years of torment. 2,000 years of being unable to die, unable to escape, unable to do anything but suffer. Belkson fell to her knees. The pain was too much, too raw, too real. Get us out of here, Captain Saris shouted. But before they could move, something changed. Alarms screamed throughout the fleet. Ancient systems were activating. Systems that had been dormant for millennia. What is happening? Praith demanded. A message appeared on every screen. In every language. In every format. It was simple and terrifying. Containment. Breach detected. Purge protocol initiating. All unauthorized entities will be eliminated. Quantum. Cage integrity at 37%. Beginning renewal sequence. The cage is failing, Belkson said. Horror filled her voice. Our presence has destabilized it. The ascended ones could escape. How long do we have? Saris asked. According to this, 3 hours until the purge activates, Praith said. If we are still here, we die. But if we leave now, the cage might fully collapse. Dr. Minax was reading through files frantically. There is another option, he said. We can manually trigger the renewal. But someone has to stay behind. Someone has to activate the systems from inside the gate. That is suicide, Praith said. Yes, Dr. Minax agreed. But if we do nothing, the ascended ones escape. And they are mad with pain. They will destroy everything. Every system. Every world. Reality itself will collapse, Belkson stood. She understood now. She understood what the humans had done. What they had sacrificed. The preservationists knew, she said. They knew someone would come eventually. They left everything behind. All the warnings. All the records. Because they hoped whoever found this place would understand. Would make the same choice they did. What choice? Saris asked, though he already knew the answer. To protect the universe, Belkson said. Even at the cost of our own lives. Silence filled the bridge. Finally, Captain Saris spoke. I will not order anyone to die, but I will ask for volunteers. Every hand went up. The entire crew, all of them willing to sacrifice themselves. Belkson smiled. We do not all need to die. Most of us can evacuate, but a small team must stay. A team to activate the systems. A team to ensure the renewal completes. I will stay, she said. This is my responsibility. I pushed for this mission. I brought us here. I will stay too, Dr. Minax said. Someone needs to understand the systems. And I, said Praith. You will need an engineer. Captain Saris nodded slowly. Very well. The rest of the fleet will evacuate. You three will have 2 hours to trigger the renewal. Then the purge will take you. There is no escape. No rescue. We understand, Velkson said. The evacuation began immediately. Ships undocked from the observation station. Crew members said their goodbyes. Some cried, some saluted. All of them understood what was happening. Finally, only Velkson, Dr. Minox, and Preeth remained. They stood on the station, watching the fleet retreat to safety. The threshold gate loomed before them. Beautiful, terrible, deadly. Shall we begin? Dr. Minox asked. Yes, Velkson said. Let us finish what the humans started. The control room was deep inside the threshold gate. Ancient technology hummed all around them. Screens displayed information in languages none of them could fully read. But Dr. Minox was learning. The systems were responding to him. I understand now, he said. The humans did not just trap the Ascended Ones. They turned the entire zone into a warning system. Any species that develops certain technologies will trigger the defenses. The zone kills anyone who gets too close to the same mistakes humanity made. It is a mercy, Velkson said. A terrible mercy. They died so that others would not. Not just died, Preeth said. He was working on the renewal systems. They sacrificed everything. Their empire, their culture, their future. All to keep the universe safe. Time was running out. They had 1 hour left. 1 hour to activate the renewal. 1 hour before the purge would take them. Dr. Minox found the final piece of the puzzle. A message hidden deep in the system code. It was from Elena Martinez, the same captain whose log they had found on the abandoned ship. If you are reading this, you have chosen to stay. You have chosen to protect the universe as we did. Thank you. Know that you are not alone. We are still here, still watching, still suffering. But our suffering has meaning if it saves others. The message continued. The Ascended Ones are not evil. They are us, our friends, our families, our loved ones. They did not want this. They thought they were becoming something better. They were wrong, and now they cannot die, cannot escape, cannot do anything but feel the agony of existing between dimensions. We built this cage not to punish them, but to protect the universe from their pain. When they suffer, reality suffers. When they scream, stars die. We had no choice. We had to contain them. We had to sacrifice ourselves to make it permanent. Every 10,000 years, the cage must be renewed. Someone must stay. Someone must feed the systems with their consciousness. It is the price. The eternal price of our hubris. Velkson felt sick. We will not just die. We will become part of the cage, part of the prison forever. Yes, Dr. Minox said softly, but we will be aware. We will be conscious. We will watch over the Ascended Ones. We will keep them contained for 10,000 years, until someone else comes, until someone else makes the same choice. That is the real horror, Preeth said, not death. Eternal duty. They stood in silence. The weight of their choice pressed down on them. But none of them wavered. They had come too far, learned too much. They could not turn back now. I need to send a message, Velkson said, to the fleet, to the collective. They need to know everything. She recorded her final transmission. She told them everything. The truth about humanity, the truth about the ascension, the truth about the Forbidden Zone. The humans were not monsters, she said. They were not evil. They were simply too curious, too ambitious. They reached for godhood and grasped it. But godhood without wisdom is not a blessing. It is a curse. Let this be a lesson. Let this be a warning. Some knowledge is too dangerous. Some power is too great. The humans learned this. They paid the price, and they made sure no other species would have to learn it the same way. The Forbidden Zone must remain forbidden, not because of fear, but because of love. The humans loved the universe more than they loved themselves. They gave up everything to protect it. Honor that sacrifice. Remember them not as failures but as heroes. She ended the transmission. Send it to the fleet. They would receive it. They would understand. They would tell others. It is time, Dr. Minox said. The renewal sequence is ready. They gathered around the central console. 3 beings from 3 different species, united by a single purpose, to protect the universe, to honor the humans, to finish what had been started 2,000 years ago. Any regrets? Preeth asked. None, Velkson said. This is why we exist. To protect, to serve, to sacrifice when necessary. Agreed, Dr. Minox said. They activated the renewal sequence together. Power surged through the gate. Reality rippled. The quantum cage began to reform. Stronger, denser, more permanent. Velkson felt herself changing. Her body was dissolving. Her consciousness was expanding. She could feel the ascended humans now. Their pain, their sorrow, their eternal regret, and she could feel the preservationists too. Thousands of them, all merged with the cage. All watching. All waiting. They welcomed her. Welcomed all three of them. "Welcome, friends," a voice said. It was Elena Martinez, or what remained of her. "Thank you for taking our place. Thank you for continuing our watch." "How long have you been here?" Velkson asked. 2,000 years, Elena replied. "But time has no meaning here. We simply exist. We simply watch. And now we will watch with you," Velkson said. "For the next 10,000 years?" "Yes," Elena said. "Until the next visitors come. Until the next heroes make the same choice." The transformation completed. Velkson, Dr. Minox, and Preeth became part of the cage. Part of the eternal watch. They could see everything now. All of space. All of time. Past and future blurred together. They saw the fleet escape. Saw them return to the collective. Saw Velkson's message spread through the galaxy. Saw species after species learn the truth about humanity. And they saw something else. Something the humans had known. Something they had accepted. Every species would eventually face the same choice. Every species would eventually develop the same technologies. Every species would be tempted by the same power. The Forbidden Zone was not just a warning. It was a test of wisdom, a test of love, a test of sacrifice. The humans had failed that test, but in failing, they had created a way for others to pass it. They had turned their failure into a gift. 2 years later, the Galactic Council gathered once more. Captain Sarah stood before them. He told them everything. Every detail of the expedition. Every discovery they had made. "We thought the humans were gone," he said. "We were wrong. They are still here, still watching, still protecting us from the mistakes they made. And Velkson, Dr. Minox, and Preeth have joined them in their eternal duty." The council voted unanimously. The Forbidden Zone would be reinforced. New warning beacons would be placed. New laws would be written. No species would be allowed to develop the technologies that had doomed humanity. But more importantly, the truth would be taught. Every child in every species would learn about the humans. Not as monsters, not as failures, but as heroes, as guardians, as the ones who love the universe more than themselves. Ambassador Curath, now even older, spoke the final words. "Human territory is forbidden," he said. "Not because we fear the humans, but because we respect them. They chose to limit their own power. They chose to protect us from what they had become. They chose sacrifice over glory, duty over ascension. And the universe still trembles," he continued, "not from fear of what the humans were, but from gratitude for what they gave up. They could have been gods. They could have ruled the stars. Instead, they became guardians, eternal, silent, ever watchful. Let us never forget them. Let us never dishonor their sacrifice. Let us never repeat their mistakes." The council chamber fell silent. Every species bowed their heads. A moment of silence for the humans. For Velkson, for Dr. Minox, for Preeth, for all those who had given everything to protect the universe. Deep in the Forbidden Zone, in the spaces between spaces, Velkson felt their grief, felt their respect, felt their understanding. She smiled, or would have if she still had a face. Her duty was not easy. It was not pleasant. It would last for 10,000 years, but it was necessary. And it was right, and she would not trade it for anything. The humans had taught her that. Sometimes the greatest power is the power to say no, the power to stop, the power to sacrifice. And sometimes the greatest love is the love that asks nothing in return. The Forbidden Zone remained forbidden. The cage remained strong. The Ascended Ones remained trapped. And the Guardians, both human and alien, continued their eternal watch, until the next time, until the next test, until the next heroes would come, and the universe would tremble once more. Not from fear, but from hope,